Hi, everyone. Welcome to Liberty Chats, a podcast from the Steamboat Institute. My name is Lindsay Martin, and I am a member of the Emerging Leaders Council, and I'm excited to be a part of this podcast. The Steamboat Institute is a conservative organization based out of Steamboat Springs, Colorado, and we are dedicated to promoting the values of freedom, liberty, and civil dialogue. Our guest on the podcast today is Tim Brown. Tim is a retired 20-year veteran of the New York City Fire Department and a survivor of the 9/11 attacks, as well as a first responder to the 1993 terrorist attack on the World Trade Center. He lost many friends and has dedicated his life to defending the memory of those that were lost on 9/11. He's also a featured speaker at our upcoming 2021 Steamboat Institute Freedom Conference. Tim, thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Lindsay. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. So it is an honor to hear about your incredible work. Will you please tell us some about what you've done over the past 20-some years and kind of where you see yourself going now?
So I bounced around for a little while, after I retired from the New York City Fire Department. And in the end, God takes you where he wants you to go, right? So that's the path I've been following. And I guess the consistent mantra through the whole thing has been never forget, right? After 9/11, on every New York City fireman's bumper of their car was a sticker that said never forget. And I have lived that mantra for the past 20 years. And that means supporting the families, which I did then and I do now. And what's different is that it has expanded to more families than just the New York Fire Department families. So now it's 9/11 families in general that I've been involved with and supporting. And one of the most rewarding things lately has been mentoring the young people, the children of the fallen, the children of the lost, because they are now in their 20s and they're asking questions about what happened. And they're trying to figure out their lives, and they don't have their mother or father maybe to help them through it. The attack is still happening to these families, right? Because the kids still don't have their mother or father, and they grew up without their fathers, especially in the uniformed group. So it's just been a natural evolution of things to begin supporting them and hopefully mentoring them in a good way.
Yeah. So could you just tell us more? What were your experiences on that day? What did you help with doing? Because it was just mass chaos. So can you kind of walk us through that?
I was a New York City fireman leading up to 9/11, but I had been detailed into Mayor Giuliani's Office of Emergency Management. And my job, I was a supervisor of field operations, and I was, my group had the responsibility to respond to the scene of disasters and emergencies in New York City and represent the mayor. And with a mayor like Rudy, it's amazing how quickly things get done. Because he's a no-nonsense guy, and I was proud and honored to represent him. So our office was 7 World Trade Center. The first plane flew over the roof of our building and slammed into the north face of the North Tower. My job was to go to the command post. A lot of things happened. I wound up on the plaza, sizing up from the exterior of the building. And that's when I started to think that it was maybe a little bigger than what I had thought. I think a lot of people thought it was a small plane, but there was quite a lot of debris and fire and smoke. And if you remember the papers in the video, the papers fluttering down, that's what it looked like. I went into the North Tower at that plaza level, and I had to go down one level, and there was an escalator, and there were hundreds of office workers waiting to get on the escalator to evacuate the building. And something that stuck with me to this day is that the people were not pushing, screaming, trampling each other. In fact, they were doing the opposite. For every person who was obese or pregnant or disabled or injured, there were 4 or 5 office workers, not firefighters or police officers, just regular people helping that person. And I thought to myself in that moment, that's the true human spirit. And that's how nearly 100% of humanity is. When someone trips and falls in front of us or next to us, we reach down and help them up. And in that moment, that was happening in front of my face. I went down that escalator. I saw my friend Chris Blackwell, firefighter. We greeted each other the same way all the time. We came to face each other, and we came to attention, and he had the unlit stub of a cigar in his mouth. He would take the cigar out of his mouth, and we would bend in and kiss each other on the lips. And then we'd straighten up, and he would put the cigar back in his mouth. And I mean, we loved each other. We had worked together for so many years, nearly 10 years. And he was like my blood brother. And we also did it because we thought that it freaked out all the firemen, and we thought that was pretty funny. So I had that moment with my friend Chris, and he said to me, "Timmy, this is really bad." And I said, "I know, Chris, I love you, be careful." And he said, "I love you too." And he turned around and he went in the stairwell and he went up. Someone yelled my name from across the lobby, and it was my best friend, Terry Hatton. And I ran over to him. He wrapped his arms around me and he kissed me here on the cheek. And he said, "I love you, brother. I may never see you again." And I kind of blew that off. I didn't really agree with what he was saying, I guess, but he was the smart one. And he was looking 10 steps ahead, and he was forecasting his own demise. So he kissed me on the cheek, said, "I love you, brother. I may never see you again." And he turned around and he went in the stairwell and he went up with his men, and he never came back. I wound up in the South Tower with firefighter Michael Lynch at the horrific scene where people were trapped in an elevator. And firefighter Mike Lynch showed up there. They needed a firefighter because they were trapped. They needed tools. They needed someone that could put out the fire that was burning below them. And firefighter Mike Lynch was the angel sent to save the lives of those people. I had to leave the angel, firefighter Lynch, because we got reports that a 3rd plane was coming in to impact us. And I had to go to the command post, and I tried to get a hold of someone to send fighter jets to protect us from overhead. They told us they had already been scrambled and were coming to protect us as fast as they could. And the lobby was filling up with people who were badly injured. It was impeding our evacuation. So Chief Burns asked me to go out and get the paramedics, and that's why I left the South Tower. I was coming back into the South Tower with the paramedics. And we were about 20 feet away from the door of the South Tower when the building collapsed. And we could hear it clearly because a big piece of steel snapped, and it was so loud that it reverberated through the streets, through the canyons of Lower Manhattan. And myself and the 3 paramedics knew immediately what it was. There was no question. It was obvious what was happening. And I've been trained as a firefighter that you can never outrun a building collapse. You have to seek immediate cover. So we ran right next door into the Marriott Hotel, and the South Tower fell onto the Marriott, and the Marriott collapsed around us. I wound up grabbing a vertical big steel column because I know that's where we find survivors and building collapses. So I wrapped my arms around it and squeezed as tight as I could. The wind that was being pushed, the air that was being pushed out of the building created a wind force of 185 miles per hour, which was scientifically proven. So that kind of tornado or hurricane was trying to push me out the door back in the street. And I knew if I let go of this column, I was certainly dead. And I was trying my best to live. My legs were up in the air, and I just thought how unfair it was that I couldn't hold my family one more time. And I just waited to be crushed. And I wasn't crushed. And it all stopped. This whole thing took less than 30 seconds. And I bounced around inside there because it was pitch black. The dust was so thick that it was caking your eyes and your nose and your mouth and your ears. I was trying to breathe. It was hard to breathe. But I wanted to get out of there. I wanted to live. And I wound up at this metal roll down gate that had fallen down in the collapse. And I reached my fingers under it to lift it up, and all these fingers came from the other side of people who were trapped. So together we lifted the gate up, and we all went back through the collapse, through the rubble, through the steel. And a firefighter came from the outside with a bright flashlight, and he was yelling to us to go to him. And we followed him out, and we all got out. About 35 of us lived there. So I survived. I lost over 100 of my friends, including the angel sent to the elevator, firefighter Mike Lynch, my best friend, Captain Terry Hatton, my other best friend, Captain Patty Brown, and the hero firefighter Chris Blackwell, who I was the last one to say goodbye to. There were a lot of heroes that day. There were a lot of angels that day. I believe that the reason I am here speaking to you is because God wanted me to carry their stories forward. And I look forward to coming out to Steamboat and telling everyone the story, all the stories, right? I want to tell the whole truth. So certainly the story of the heroes, but also the story of the horrors of 9/11. So I called the heroes and the horrors, and to tell the truth about who did it, and why they did it, to ensure that we're aware that this could happen again. So the truth is that 2,977 people, innocent human beings, were murdered on September 11th by radical Islamic terrorists. That's a very intentional statement that I make because it's the truth. And I don't say 2,977 Americans, because that would not be true. It was 2,977 innocent human beings from 90 countries. So it was, I call it an attack on humanity. I call it an attack by evil of humanity. And that's what it was. And I want people on the 20th anniversary to remember all of those things, especially the young people who are going to be coming to the conference. I want them to hear from a person who was there, the whole truth. And I want to take their questions afterwards, and I want to answer their questions, because at some point my voice will be cut short and they will carry the truth forward for the next generation after them. So that's kind of my main motivation for coming out there and sharing this story is particularly for the kids.
Well, we definitely are so excited to hear all of those different things because, yes, now that we have gone past and we are now 20 years since that has happened. I mean, for like me personally, I was in 5th grade and I can still picture seeing the news and like everything, and just having this like eerie feeling. And so now that we are at this point where we are raising kids who have never experienced something like that. And so I think that there is a legitimate worry about that next group. Not that we want something like this to happen, but history is so crucial and it shows us so many things. And so, yes, I think that that's a really, vital piece. So kind of switching gears, can you tell us more about your Tunnel to Towers Foundation, kind of when you got that started and what you are wanting to do with it?
Right. So I volunteer with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. The whole title is the Stephen Siller Tunnel to Towers Foundation. It is founded in honor, in remembrance of firefighter Stephen Siller, who I did not know, but it was founded by his family, his siblings. His brother, his oldest brother, Frank, is the CEO. And what they do currently is they build adaptive smart homes for catastrophically injured military. They also pay off the mortgages of Gold Star families, of line of duty deaths for fire and law enforcement. They'll come in and when I'm just, before we got on, I was just researching a fire in Connecticut where a firefighter was killed in the last day or two. And they will go in and pay off the mortgage if that firefighter or police officer had children under 16 years old. They go in and pay the mortgage off so that those children don't have to be worried about losing their childhood home. It is 94% of the money donated goes to the end user. They're an excellent charity. I'm going to be heading out tomorrow to Maryland to go support the CEO, Frank Siller, as he walks on, they call it the Never Forget Walk. He's walking from the World Trade Center to Shanksville, Pennsylvania, to the World Trade Center. He's 68 years old. He recovered from a heart attack last year and he came back strong. So he is walking in honor of his brother, Stephen, and to raise awareness of the Tunnel to Towers Foundation and ask people to donate $11 a month so that the Tunnel to Towers Foundation can take care of America's heroes, America's sentinels, those who protect us every day and every night. And I could not be more honored to support a charity than the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
So would you like to tell more about your website? Because I'm not for sure that our listeners have heard, but I think it's a great platform. So would you like to share anything about that with us?
Right. The website I wanted to talk about was the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. So we did that. So okay. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, great. Well, so do you still stay in touch with any of the men, women that you served with, whether it was from the 1993 or from what you were discussing? Do you keep in touch with any of those people?
I'm not in touch with very many, and very sadly the answer to that is most of them died on 9/11. And that is my kind of burden to carry, not mine by myself, but I've tried to move forward in working with these charities and advancing the mantra of never forget, and ensuring that those responsible for murdering my friends are held accountable, and that the families get the answers that they deserve to get about who was behind all this. And we know some of it, but we don't know some of it too. So I continue to advocate for the families, and I'm very proud to be mentoring some of the young folks who, you know, were cheated out of their mother or father over the last 20 years.
Mhm. Exactly, because even though it is something that we are raising kids in that they didn't personally experience, those children are still living their entire lives with, you know,
Yeah.
that. So, well, Tim,
Missing a parent. Yeah. I mean, it's
yeah,
a reality. So,
yeah, and it's
you
like
know,
something that will just always stay there.
yeah. Yeah.
So, well, Tim, thank you so much for joining us
Thanks, Lindsay.
today. We are so excited to have you at the end of this month at our Freedom Conference in Beaver Creek, Colorado, and we look forward to hearing about all that you are doing. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks very much. My pleasure. Take
So
care.
to our listeners, if you have enjoyed our chat today, please share, subscribe, and leave us a review. You can find our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or on our website. See you next time. Bye.
Hi, Lindsay.
Bye.
Hi, honey.
Well,